Good morning. I'm J.P. Osterman, and this morning I'd like to read Chapter 1 and a couple paragraphs of Chapter 2 out of my science fiction novel, First Communication, Book 1 in the Nelta series. Chapter 1, Ozone Strike. In a 1998 hearing before the U.S. Senate, General Alexander Lebed, Russia's former national security advisor, testified that more than 100 nuclear weapons had disappeared. Most were suitcase-sized nukes that he believed were in the hands of terrorists. The weapons were each capable of producing anywhere from a single kiloton to over a 1 megaton explosion. 6 decades passed, we forgot about those bombs. It was Sunday, June 10, 2057 in the United States when extremist groups came out of deep hiding and launched a combined strike on the world. They detonated 47 of the missing nukes high in the atmosphere, where much larger amounts of ionized gamma radiation and X-rays would cause the most damage to our ozone. A week after the attempted Holocaust, it was clear we had entered into World War III against an army of jihadist and anti-Western militants whose hatred had been seething for decades. Those terrorists struck us hard. Back in 2051, the northern ice sheet had exhaled its last vapor due to global warming, but the radiation created by the explosions on that global day of devastation produced a chain reaction that began destroying the ozone layer and deteriorating our air quality. Institutions collapsed. Governments and nations toppled. Communicating through the internet, we survivors reached out to one another through our new One World social media site. We took refuge in beehive communities, many underground with protective solar lighting. Unite, survive, rebuild. We tacked those motivational signs everywhere, and we did just that. Scientists and engineers in Russia and China united their terraforming projects and installed an electron manipulation system on the old International Space Station. That Earth-directed device with its particle accelerators began stabilizing gases in the ozone layer, but only to minimum levels. With the help of private companies like SpaceX, Area 51 astrophysicists launched 4 cloud-seeding devices on solar-powered unmanned aerial vehicles. The technology people had been developing for a manned mission to Mars began saving Earth. Not enough. Realizing that if we were going to survive and thrive, we had to consolidate all our resources. On January 2nd, 2058, in what would be the first of many democratic online elections, we voted for and approved a global government, United Earth, and a 50-member team of representatives, the Regency. The next day, our media site posted nominations for those positions, and the following day, we voted our first university officials into office. They had to have known what they were getting themselves into, because on any day we, the world, could vote them out of the Regency. On Monday, April 1, 2058, we approved our global constitution. The next Monday, we approved the enforcer agency that merged all of Earth's fragile police forces. That Thursday, we voted in favor of a unified military, stealth force, bestowing on them the power to bring our terrorist enemies to justice. Justice? Justice for what? That's what some of us kept arguing through our One World site. After all, our delicate ozone layer was a sieve. No global unity, passionate pursuit of technology, or intense hunt and strike strategy against terrorists would stop Earth from eventually becoming a mostly uninhabitable zone. What many of our scientists believe was humanity's extinction-level event was looming in our faces as people died daily. 3 months later, in an intensive campaign, one of our representatives, Regent Thornton Manning, implored us to approve a quick setup of an advanced radio telescope array and link it with the very large array in New Mexico, the SETI Institute, and the observatories in the Atacama Desert. Harnessing energy from the particle accelerator at the space station, he had already begun a preliminary quantum transmission into the Virgo cluster of galaxies, but needed more optics to complete his experiment. He said that he and his team had gleaned a strong signal from the M84 galaxy, one of many galaxies in that Virgo cluster. He kept interrupting all our TV programs and video conferencing to update us on frequencies that sounded like high-pitched revving engines, alternating with long, flat line noises at 1-minute intervals. He said, the sounds must be spacecraft emissions and advanced aliens. What a waste of time, many reporters and his agency colleagues scoffed, claiming that his plan to message aliens and ask for help was throwing away money. Even if an advanced civilization had the technology to help us, no one or thing could ever travel at light speed or harness enough energy to journey through wormholes to save Earth before our ozone would bleed out. The distance between the Virgo cluster and the Milky Way was too great. Cleaning up cities and stopping terrorism are a priority, people maintained, trying to stop Regent Manning's ideas from flourishing as the day to vote on his observatory measure approached. Yet, 2 weeks later, in a short 10-minute speech, he convinced 86% of us voters that humanity's ultimate survival might depend on aliens hearing the message and answering his cosmic call for help. Based on Dr. M. Zuberi's counterfactual quantum communication principle back in 2013, we found it difficult to understand how anyone could communicate without data traveling through time and space. That's radio, satellite, the internet, and fiber optic communications. Regent Manning's quantum SOS experiment appeared like a psychic reading. He said his new orbital observatory would allow immediate communication anywhere, across the street, across the world, or across the universe. Instantly. The speed of light is no longer a limiting factor. Then he showed us a small model of his outer space invention that looked like a 6-foot round particle accelerator with tentacles. When he turned on the model, it lit up like yellow laser light, hummed, lifted in the air, and blasted sounds and an image of Earth right into our portable devices. We saw the data appear on the Mars probes and the Titan probe. The SOS would reach the Virgo cluster once he had the necessary optics to quantum transmit the SOS. But the most convincing part of his speech came when he showed us pictures of our deteriorating ozone, thinning worse than anyone anticipated, with solar radiation beating out hotspots around Earth. Desperation clinched the 86% vote. 1 month later, on November 17, 2058, Regent Thornton Manning made a special appearance at the Arecibo Observatory. With breaking news, he interrupted all the Regent's recorded speeches on our One World campaign and voting site to demonstrate his Decagon communications platform, connecting to the renovated space station that was also linking with every observatory on Earth. Harnessing particle accelerator energy, the 2-mile-wide, 10-armed octopus station was concentrating electron-embedded data at precise locations at M84 and the surrounding Virgo cluster. Accessing the facility's homepage, we could see, hear, and monitor the SOS. Regent Manning had interwoven our message with the transmission we were still receiving and scenes of Earth, destructive scenes from our deteriorating ozone, some still beauteous scenes, and images of people who volunteered to be part of his SOS endeavor. He ended his special broadcast by saying, "This is quantum communication, transmitting data as atomic particles that exist in multiple places, even across the universe. They will hear us. We can now only wait, hope they answer, and can help us." Chapter 2, The Anomaly. The time was around noon on Thursday, August 23, 2060. I was sitting in my old 4th-floor office in the Levine Science and Research Center at my alma mater, Duke University, checking over data and results on a new optics sensor when the sky darkened under heavy cloud cover, just like that. The atmospheric pressure was slowly dropping, and the humidity was at 5%, as if a hurricane was approaching the East Coast. I'd never seen or heard of such a condition. I felt a static cling in the air. My tongue dried. Drinking water didn't even begin to quench my thirst. With a shocked expression on her face, Dr. Lynn Altman, an old research colleague of mine, ran into the lab and began pointing out the big picture window at the center of the western wall. "Thornton, is this an eclipse?" The global weather service messaged us downstairs, saying that something big was incoming, but they Can't make it out. What do you think? The fourth floor had a top secret security designation. I couldn't leave until the right technician with the proper credentials could relieve me. If you'd like to find out more and read more on First Communication, that day that changed the world, it's First Communication, book 1 in the Nelta series. Thank you.